My name is Greg. Don't be too quick to laugh. A name for a stone might seem like a joke to you, but it was given to me in earnest about 2,000 years ago, when neither this city, nor this park, nor even the words for what you called traffic jams and schedules existed. Back then, I lay on a hill near a settlement where fires were lit at night, and in the mornings, people took a long time shaking the sleep from their bones. People approached me cautiously, as if I were alive. They stroked my rough side with palms that still smelled of smoke and grease, whispered something to their sky, and carefully left bones, berries, and crudely molded figurines at my base. The tribal chieftain, broad-shouldered with a heavy gaze, once placed his hand on me and uttered a sound that his people repeated as a name. That sound has been worn away by centuries in your history, but inside me, it settled in such a way that you would hear it as Greg. Since then, I have known, when a stone has a name, it ceases to be just a lump of solidified rock. It becomes a being addressed. You can speak to it, you can ask things of it, you can be angry at it. A name is an obligation to remember, and I have more of this memory than your oldest archive. I remember how before people, water polished me long and stubbornly. Once, I was part of a cliff. Then the ice took me, dragged me across ridges, left me amidst clay, and then the sea came and breathed over me for a long time, gnawing into my cracks with salty foam. I lay on the bottom, where the light was not direct, but as if already chewed up by someone and spat back out. Fish glided along my edges like thoughts that no one knows how to write down yet. But the sea retreated, and I found myself under the open sky. At first, there was only wind and grass. Then the beasts came. They rubbed their flanks against me, scratched their horns, left fur, scents, and blood. I saw the eyes of an ancient bison so close that my own silence was reflected in them. I thought it would always be this way: seasons, beasts, lightning, rain. But then you appeared. The first humans I remember didn't know the word stone the way you know it. To them, I was a boundary, a support, a place where one could dismantle the gathered world into parts and reassemble it. They dressed hides on me, laid out the bones of prey, scratched signs with sharp shards, as if trying to leave their version of time upon me.
That was when what you might call a baptism happened. The tribal chieftain climbed the hill. The sky was low, as if someone had carelessly stretched it over the earth. The people stood around me, each holding something important: a piece of meat, a bundle of herbs, a child's toy made of bone. The chieftain placed his palm on my upper ledge and spoke that very word. The others repeated it in a chorus. There was nothing stony in that sound. It was warm, like fresh smoke. And I suddenly understood. From this day on, everything that happens around me is my responsibility to keep. A name ties you to the world. Before that day, I could simply exist, be part of the landscape, like a shadow from a cloud. After, every movement, every glance, every whisper became an entry in my invisible chronicle. They began to call for me. They began to blame me. They thanked me. People came to me at night. Some asked for luck in the hunt, others for a child to survive a fever. Sometimes they wiped their hands on me after bloodshed and said that all the evil would remain in the stone. You have an interesting way of negotiating with your conscience. Centuries passed. The tribes vanished. Their language dissolved into other sounds, into the names of other gods. But my name is stubborn. It grew over with legends. It became distorted. In some tales, I became a guardian stone. In others, a place of power. Some whispered that the souls of the dead seemed to fall into me. Others believed that I granted wishes if one sat and remained silent for a long time. I found it curious. You want to hear answers so badly that you are willing to speak to something created initially to be silent. Time, to which you give numbers and names of eras, rolled over me like a wheel that doesn't know it's driving over stone. They tried to split me, move me, bury me, forget me. Once, they actually buried me almost entirely. The new order deemed old stones something inconvenient, dangerous, too talkative, even though, as you know, we have no voices. But underground, it was quiet in its own way. Only roots, insects, rare trickles of water. Then you dug me up again. This time different people, with different words. They measured me with a tape, photographed me from different angles, argued about my rock type and origin. None of them knew that long before their arguments, I had already been given a name and duties. But one of the young workers, tired and silent, sat on my edge, pulled out a cigarette, and looking at no one, said quietly,
Heavy bastard. How did they even drag you here, Greg? He couldn't have known that he hit exactly that old note that had lived inside me for 2,000 years. Something in the air trembled slightly, as if from sudden recognition. The name returned. And that is how I ended up here, in a big city park. They installed me deliberately, naturally. Sunk me a bit into the ground, tweaked the terrain around me, planted bushes and trees, placed a couple of benches so that it would be convenient for people to look at me without admitting to themselves that they were looking at me. Officially, I am a decorative landscape element. Unofficially, I am still the same Greg, who once served as an altar, a table, a support for the first tools, and a pier for your fears. Now my morning begins with dog barking and bicycle bells. Children climb on me just as goat kids once did. Teenagers scratch their initials on my surface, very clumsy descendants of ancient carved symbols. Someone takes a photo leaning their back against me. Someone, thinking no one sees, wipes tears on me. Lovers sit nearby and try to explain to each other what they themselves do not yet understand. Old people come just to sit in silence. In their silence, I hear the echo of that ancient chorus that once spoke my name. Sometimes tour groups pass by. The guide in a cheerful voice tells them how old I might be, what rock I am made of, what the path of stones into this region was. He pauses so the group can take photos and says something like, "Imagine how many stories this boulder could tell if it could speak." I listen and chuckle in my own way, with a light vibration somewhere deep in my cracks. They still don't let me speak, but no one forbade me to remember. And so now, as you read these lines, you already know. My name is Greg, and my first name sounded 2,000 years ago from the mouth of a man who believed a stone could be a witness between him and the sky. Since then, I have honestly done my job. Everything that happens nearby, I keep inside myself. Just as you leave files in your invisible storage, you just do it more noisily. Here in the park, my life seems calm to you, but for me it is just another page. Before it were the depths of the sea and tribal fires, blood and lightning, glaciers and sand. After it will be other cities, other people, other strange words you will invent for old things. One thing, however, will remain unchanged. Someone will inevitably come, place a hand on my shoulder, and quietly speak their wish aloud. And perhaps call me by my name, Greg. And then the stories will begin, which I will tell you one after another, as if you sat down on the bench nearby and decided, finally, to listen to a stone that remembers more than your century is capable of carrying.